Hi guys, so what's the latest attempt to distract the public from the disaster facing the NHS, from crumbling schools, the problems of Brexit and the cost of living crisis? Well, jailing people for climbing on war monuments. Yes, when prisons are full and the ones that aren't are crumbling because of wrack, the Tories want to put people in prison for scaling a statue. Podcaster and commentator Marina Purkiss perfectly highlighted the absurdity of all of this, but a former Met police officer who should know the current problems facing the criminal justice system under the Tories took a different approach. Have a listen.
Just ridiculous. Our jails are full. People are waiting like 7 years for court trials. Rapists are walking free. And the government thinks it's a good idea to spend our last 1,800 prison spaces on sending people to prison, who have scaled an inanimate object. It's absolutely pathetic. Also, these people are protesting against the stuff that's going on in Palestine, which, I mean, they're protesting for, it's like a freedom, right? A ceasefire. They want to stop the indiscriminate killing of children, of mothers. And he's scaling a war memorial. These war memorials are about fighting freedom. Like, what is there to jail about this? It's absolutely bananas. Don't let this government distract you with this nonsense while your bills are the highest they've ever been, while your taxes are the highest they've ever been.
So you think this is a pre-election? They're just going through a series of...
they're throwing some red meat because they want...
Red meat.
Yeah, it's the red meat to people.
Exactly, that's what it's about. It's red meat. It's about distracting the public. We can't win on the NHS because this is the Tory belief. We can't win on the NHS because we've trashed it. We can't win on schools because they're crumbling. We can't win on infrastructure. We can't win on jobs. We can't win on the economy. Even the Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, has come out and said, yeah, okay, I've pretty much failed on all of my pledges to stop the boats, to have inflation, to grow the economy, to bring down the NHS waiting list. That in particular has increased dramatically over the last 14 years. But because they can't win on these things, they try something else. They try and distract. The culture war was another one of these things. Throw things at the wall, hoping something will stick, and this is just another attempt at throwing something against the wall. This being, well, what we're going to do is we're going to clamp down on people climbing monuments. People don't like, the general public don't like to see people climbing monuments, so what we're going to do is we're going to put those people in prison.
Is it red meat, Peter, or is it meaningful?
Well, red meat or not, I'm going to devour it now because a lot of Blexes lost their lives in both the First World War and the Second World War, and that's led me and my wife to taking our children to the Battle of the Somme battlefields, the First World War trenches, the Thiepval Memorial, then on another trip to the Normandy landing beaches, the US military cemetery, got to do it. And last week, my wife and I went to Auschwitz-Birkenau because it's really important for me understanding the history of conflict, the sacrifice so many millions of people made. And I think it's a wonderful thing that the memory of so many courageous people is honoured by wonderful war memorials in our city and elsewhere around the UK. Any disrespectful clown that wants to clamber over them, thereby disrespecting the memory and the honour of those people, can happily go to prison as far as I'm concerned.
He's not disrespecting that. It's ridiculous.
Although I would like to go a slight step further and stick 750,000 volts through them, so if they climbed up on there, they'd get a bit of a shock.
Do you understand what...
Oh my goodness. So this guy... And you're going to see this a lot when it comes to things like monuments. People are more concerned with the physical monument than what it represents. The people fought for freedom. People fought for the right to climb monuments, to protest against the government, to disagree with the government of the day. And a monument was put in place to represent that fight. And this guy and others, and you're going to hear this a lot from people, they seem to be more concerned with the monument itself than what the monument represents. They're more interested in clamping down on freedom because they don't want to see people climbing monuments. Now, there's a difference between climbing a monument and destroying a monument, knocking it over or just trying to bring it down or deface it. We're not talking about that. We're just talking about somebody climbing on top of a monument. But the monument, once again, is there to represent freedom. We shouldn't be focusing on the monument itself. We should be focusing on what it represents.
What these people are protesting? Do you have a problem with what he's protesting?
It may not even
I have a
matter.
problem with people clambering on warming boards.
Do you understand that this government, there are tougher sanctions for if you climb an inanimate object than there are for if you sexually assault a woman? Right? Doesn't that tell you where this country's priorities are? You can get a suspended sentence
In a way,
for
it's not
sexual assault.
It isn't. I can see what this discussion is. It's not about whether or not the protesters are right in what they're saying. It's that you just don't ever climb on a warm.
And he didn't listen to what Marina was saying. Marina's saying that there are real crimes that are not getting punished, not being dealt with, and instead the Tories want to focus on non-crimes. They want to put people in prison for climbing, as she pointed out, an inanimate object, but not people for assaulting women, for example. That's where the priorities are. And I don't even think it's a priority. It's just a distraction. Look at what we're doing. Look at how we're dealing with people climbing monuments instead of actually dealing with real crime. Trying to deal with the current prison population. Trying to deal with the criminal justice system, which is collapsing. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.